everybody. Gonna pull up some Claude Code today, or Claude Cowork. Excited to be running through this today. This is a really, I think, a really important one, especially as LinkedIn has gotten more saturated over, the last couple of years. But LinkedIn is still an incredible way to be able to actually get customers and clients, depending if what side of you're on. And today we're going to walk through what that looks like. For those who are here now, if you want to maybe drop in what your role is, I think it's always helpful for me to understand what kind of business you're working on, what your piece in that puzzle is, just so I can help tailor the session and the workshop a little bit closer to what you guys are doing. All right, let's start from the top here. I would love to know if we have more. Okay, cool. We got project manager, marketing coordinator, head of growth. Awesome. Antonio, that sounds like a cool community. Would love to learn more about that. First, I guess, are you guys, for those who are in the audience, are you posting on LinkedIn currently? Have you started that journey yet? And if you could drop maybe what your biggest pain point is it figuring out things to say? Is it writing it, finding the time to write it? Are you posting but then aren't seeing any results from it? We'll cover all of that. Cool. Well, this is going to be a little bit more of a practical session. Sometimes I spend these times talking more theoretically, talking about, the process and how we can go about these. Today, I wanted to do a specific deep dive because I feel like the last few sessions we've done on this topic have been more high level. And so you can go and check out those recordings. They're all listed on our website or on Maven. But today we're going to get into the nitty gritty. And so I'm just going to come in here in a Claude Code session and actually open up a folder. Actually, I'm going to create a new folder for this. LinkedIn OS. So essentially all I've done is I've created a new folder to work out of on my computer here in Claude Cowork. And essentially this is going to allow us to save a series of files to our local drive for us to be able to run different workflows and different processes here. Another large thing to note is that we have these connectors. So I highly recommend you come in and connect the tools that you use for your workflows. So today we're going to be using like Exa. We might be using Circleback to look at some of our sales calls. And then Appify is one that connects to a lot of different other vendors and sources. But as I want to think through this, the idea is how we can use LinkedIn to get new customers. So what are the steps of that process? Well, I have to be able to figure out who I'm selling to. Hopefully you have a good idea of who your ICP is, and more importantly, what their pain points are. Then we want to create content that speaks to those pain points and help them kind of understand and speak to them in that direct way, so we can create content that resonates with them. I was just brushing up on a podcast actually on the art of storytelling, and I think where a lot of people go wrong with content these days, especially as more and more of it is being produced, is we tend and we usually default to speaking at our audience. And the issue there is it doesn't move the viewer or the reader in any particular way. And the proper way that we need to frame our messaging and frame our content is really putting the person we're speaking to as the hero in their journey. If you study any kind of frameworks or principles around storytelling, we know that the person we're speaking to is the hero who has a problem that needs to get from point A to point B. and we are meant to act as the guide. And the way that we act as the guide is we say, hey, we know how to get you from point A to B. You need to follow these 3 simple steps. Put some stakes there. There has to be some tension to make it a valuable and interesting story. And so, and then we help them, guide them through the process. But it has nothing to do with us. As soon as it does, we lose the audience because we're no longer helping them. We're just talking about how we're helping ourselves. And so the way we use this for LinkedIn is really making sure that the content that we produce speaks to that hero. And so we're going to create a few different documents. The way that I think about producing anything on Claude Cowork is we need to create a information or context layer. And in this case, we need to create context on who our company is, who our business is, and who our ICP is. And so we're going to create that first. Create a file of truth, and I'll put these prompts here in the chat. Create a file of truth document for content creation. We need to do research on Catalyst, catalyst.com, and pull a complete overview. If you have any brand documents or you have all of this written, you can just drag and drop it, but I'm showing you how simple it is that you can just do it on a simple web search. Complete overview of what they do, problems they solve, proof points, etc. We also need a section on their ICP, who they are selling to, and what those ICP's jobs to be done are. Create a doc and save it in the folder. So because I have my connectors already, it's going to come through and think about what I'm actually trying to do. Notice here, I am simply just telling it the outcome that I want. Claude has gotten so good where I can now just tell it the outcome and it tells me how to get there on its own. And so it's making a plan and it's going to run through that. It's probably going to ask for some permissions, which is great. And the idea here is give us a file that when it produces any piece of content, it can always reference. And so it will always have context going into every piece of content it produces on who we are. And just answering some of these questions. It's asking some follow-up questions so it can create a better outcome. But the core concept here is that this file of truth document allows it to produce everything net new with that same context. And a key component of this is I told it to reference our ICP in the framework of jobs to be done. Now, if you aren't familiar about what that framework is, jobs to be done thinks about from that person's perspective in their role based off of their title or their firmographics, what they are required to do and literally what jobs they need to accomplish. And therefore, because we're talking to this individual as a buyer who we recognize that they are in a role within a company and they have some set of requirements of work they need to do. And so we can always frame our messaging and our language in a way that helps them get closer to solving, whatever their job is. So it is creating a document. It did some research. It's going to research ICPs and jobs to be done. It's going to rate that single source of truth. And then it's going to verify facts and proof points. It's running this in the background. If you want, you can go and take a look at, kind of how it's deploying that. But as it's doing that, let's think about the next step. So now we'll have a specific document created with the context layer, which, by the way, you can use for other projects that you're working on. It's just a great way to have a file of truth for your business. And so the next thing I want to do is, I have been posting content for a while on LinkedIn. So I want to make sure that I'm pulling in, information about myself and the context of the content I like to publish. And if you haven't started your publishing journey yet, that's totally fine too, because we can um, we can pull in other people's content that we aspire to be and that we like. So there is another creator that I really like named Alex Lieberman. And honestly, I like how he tells stories and he conveys content. And so I'm going to add him here, just a link here, and then pull one other creator who talks about similar topics as myself. So I'm going to pull in this as an example. You can add as many as you want here. I do think there's a level of overcomplication. Keeping it a little bit more direct and simple is usually the best route with AI, but then you can obviously add more context. So here we can see the single source truth. We will go through this in a second. I just want to get this next prompt running for the sake of time. Writing style / story telling inspiration, and I don't think that really matters, but topics, narratives, perspectives, inspo. Okay, so for this next one, what I wanted to do is pull inspiration from a few creators. So one creator who I like how they tell narrative, how they tell stories, how they actually convey information through their content. And then I'm directing it to another profile that talks about similar topics as me. This is a great way to get ideas and really learn from other people's data, right? If someone is talking about, Claude code for whatever topic, or, a specific topic that's performing well, I want to put my own spin on that. And we also can do like industry news. You can put in newsletters that you like, all things like that. So I'm going to say I've added links to profiles that are relevant for what we are trying to do. Here's the key. Create a skill that runs weekly to pull new content ideas and help draft content. Make sure when doing so, you reference the file of truth and are always framing content towards the Catalyst ICP. I'll paste that in as well. You obviously can swap out the different links for yourself. But again, what we're saying is I want every week for you to go look at these profiles and find relevant information for content we're trying to create. We're going to pull my existing content and perspective. We're going to pull writing, storytelling inspiration from Alex Lieberman. And we're going to pull topics, narratives, and perspectives from this Kevin profile. Kevin's a friend of mine, so hopefully he gets a kick out of this. And then making sure that you're always referencing that file of truth and always framing content towards who our actual ICP is. Looks like we're having some, it's doing some thought process. We'll help troubleshoot here in a minute. Sometimes AI doesn't know what it can do, but we can guide it on its way. How should it pull? Live poll using @to or Apify. Ideas in 3 full drafts. Ideas in 5 full drafts. Great. Monday to this folder. Great. Okay, so let's look at this file of truth. It gives its reasoning to exist up here. Our one-line identity. Great finds, actual information about us, positioning statement, what we do, our 3 programs, executive LinkedIn content, AEO and AI search, original research reports, the goals, who it's for, pricing, understands how each of those programs work, what problems we solve. So this is kind of general problems. Our villain, again, in any good storytelling, you need a villain. The mechanism in which we solve this, our core beliefs. So these are things that it understands about us as a company. We talk about this often. Helps us stand out and differentiate. Who I am, what we're not, proof points. So it's pulling actual case studies from our website here, which is awesome to see. Logos, associations, testimonials, verbatim. ICP who we're selling to. So this is really important. We sell to 3 different personas, and each one views our program slightly different. The founder, the CEO, the executive has a different set of objectives than, let's say, the head of revenue or CRO versus the marketing lead, the CMO, head of marketing. And so we want to make sure that when we're creating content, if we're talking to founders, that we're using the right kind of framing and messaging, because they care about very different things than the marketing lead. Jobs to be done for each persona. So, right, for a CEO and executive, they want to, from their perspective, help me close deals because competitors get a first meeting. Buyers who consume the exec's thinking show up already convinced. The rep confirms rather than pitches. So this is, high leverage when you're doing founder-led sales, where you can build a lot of trust and authority through the founder profile before you even book a demo. But the head of revenue is going to view it slightly different, where they want to make pipeline arrival warm, so reply rates climb. Right, they're worried about reply rates and actually booking demos. The marketing lead wants content production and help there, and so again, they are looking at it from slightly different framing. And so when we're creating content, we want to be actually putting it in that perspective. Again, the ICP that we're speaking to is the hero who has a problem, and we are calling out those problems in this jobs to be done. It's looking at our key resources, our voice messaging, writing as catalyst. And then it looks like there's some, kind of open items to confirm. But this is a really good high-level overview that helps consolidate a lot of information that usually lives in sometimes just, a founder or a solopreneur's brain. But it can be used for every other asset that you produce from this point on. Looks like we have a question. This is a skill we are building live. So you can rewatch the replay, but essentially we created a single file of truth document that will help us produce content in the future. In this context, LinkedIn content. And now we are running an audit on my LinkedIn profile and a few other reference accounts to help us come up with some ideas on things to create. Now, this is a really good starting place for content production. But I urge you to not just take the outputs that we're going to get here and post them. They're going to fall flat. The idea is the point that we're trying to get to. How you add your own perspective to this is what's going to make it stand out and be interesting. AI doesn't know that. It's not going to. And so you can create the same exact skill to source an idea and have it output 3 questions to ask you so that you can enrich it. So if I was doing this for real, I would say, do the same thing, but at the end, go and actually just prompt me 3 questions every Sunday per post to for me to give feedback, and so that I can actually give it perspective into something that's real. Cool. It created the skill. I'm going to save it and let's run it. Run Catalyst. You can see I have a few of these catalysts. Okay, so this gets us the first part of the problem, right? Actually posting. If you're not posting, no one's going to know about you. And content is a great way to get people to know about your stuff and build trust that you are a credible voice in the space. And so step one is posting, and this should solve 80% of your posting problems. To close the gap, you need to add, a human in review step and actually review it, give it some feedback, dial it in. You can probably get it to 90%. But really, the best way to make this get to 99% is by doing those interviews and actually offering your perspective on each topic or each idea. We then need to get customers out of this, right? Because the whole idea here is we're posting content to warm up an audience, and so that they trust us, and these ICPs that we're speaking to raise their hand and say, hey, do you know what? That sounds interesting. I want to learn more about that. And so by pressing a like button or leaving a comment, they are opting in essentially to you to reach out to them, right? They're raising their hand saying, hey, I'm interested in this. And so when you do outbound, you're no longer doing just pure cold outbound. You're doing outbound in the in the perspective of someone is warm and they are interested in what you have to say. Now, there are millions, thousands of tools to accomplish this today. And I am, I'm tool agnostic, but you want to be able to accomplish two things. You want an easy way to pull in the information of all the people who are engaging with your content. If you have a post that got 100 likes and 200 comments, right, because your content's going to be crushing it, you don't want to manually go through all of them. And then, some of them are going to be in your ICP, some won't. And so you want to be able to identify and surface those individuals. You can use a separate tool like Traxy that allows you to just surface those. You can use some Apify actors if you're a little bit more technical. You can use a tool like Goji which is all in one. And there's also another tool, Valley, that I really like. Again, there are a lot of options here, and I'm not here to sell you on a specific tool, but I will show you what it looks like to set up that campaign. So for this example, while this continues to run, I am going to pull up a new campaign on Valley. This is a tool that I use to send messages on LinkedIn. It's a really great tool. It does everything all in one place. That's why I personally like it, because I'm tired of using separate tools that kind of connect to each other, but it gets a little bit messy. What I really like about them is you can go into their list feature and look at what they call warm lists. And so I have 3 different warm lists of people who have viewed my profile. So when someone actually goes to my LinkedIn profile, LinkedIn is keeping record of that. Then there's post engagers. So this is everyone who's ever posted on all of my content. And then there's profile followers. So people who actually follow me, either my personal page or my company page. So 3 really great sources of people who know about me and are in my orbit, in my ecosystem. And so let's talk about post engagers. So, right, you're posting content consistently, you're building up an audience, people are starting to follow you. Now we want to create a campaign that actually allows me to send a message to them. I'll walk you through my specific campaign. But I want to just show you the output of that skill that we created in just a few minutes, to show you how great it really can be, without a lot of effort. And I'll also explain how we can kind of take it to that next level. So let me jump back to here really quick. So this is what I will now get every week on Monday morning without any additional work. Again, this just is a skill that runs on a schedule automatically. This will post up. Sourcing notes, it found some information about us. Idea bank. So if I want to just start with the idea, cool. Idea number one, you can't optimize your way into AI answers. The work moved off of your site. Two, AI isn't replacing your content team. It's exposing who had nothing original to say. Three, your buyers built their short list before your reps even said a word. I'm not going to read through all of these, but some really good ideas. Obviously, it's AI. It's going to make it sound a little bit, more kitschy than it needs to be. But some good concepts here. And you can see it's actually pulling the angle that, it wants to relate to, who we're speaking to, right? Their jobs to be done. And framing it around it. Then it goes into actually writing a post for me. So it's using content that I've posted myself and then using inspiration from, the other reference profiles. And so, not the best. The idea is good. The writing needs improvement because I haven't given it a writing style yet, which is probably something we should do as well. But you can see it's talking about, okay, Monday, we're going to talk to the marketing lead with their job that is, they need to prove that AI is working for them. So that post is specifically to them, targeting them. Tuesday, we're talking to a CEO executive. They want to make their leadership known. And so this is a post talking about that specifically. Wednesday, speaking to a CRO. They need to make their pipeline arrive warm. Again, another post here. So these are good places to start. Build content change to 0. I've helped build a content to 0. Honestly, I might just post this word for word. This is a pretty good. I like these listicles. I think they're coming back a little bit. Marketing lead talking to how impressions are the most expensive line B2B marketing. Great. Gives me all my sources. I can validate it, but you can see it's pulling from a lot of my own content and kind of repurposing that. And yeah, this is a really good place to start for producing content. Again, I built this once in 10 minutes with not a lot of QA, and already this is getting me significantly closer to producing great high quality content than if I was just starting fresh. Feel free to drop any questions about this down below. I'm happy to dive more into it. But with the time that we have, I want to jump back over to Valley and show you how we actually set up these campaigns to reach customers. So awesome. So we have a post engagers campaign. And essentially what this is saying is every time someone engaged with one of my posts, I want to send them an automatic message. So you come in here and you actually create a campaign, and you can see the campaign that I'm using right now, engage, send ADO, audit. And these are all individuals who have engaged with my content. And not only that, Valley is going and doing research on these individuals. So when it sends messages, it's going to be more tailored. Before, you needed Clay and all these other tools to accomplish that, where Valley just does it all in one place. And so it can send much more targeted messaging. It also has this ICP fit. So because I've defined who my ICP is, it's telling me who's a high fit, who's a low fit, who's a medium fit. And the nice thing about this is because I only have 25 connection requests I can send a day, I'm not wasting those connection requests on people who aren't even my potential buyer. And so you can set up a campaign. This one's really basic. It's just templated. where I'm sending them a connection request and I'm just sending them a link to my AEO audit tool. If you haven't seen that yet, you can check it out here. It's really cool. It is a way to see how AI is talking about you and your business. And so it gives you a starting point of how to actually make changes and how to get your company ranking in AI. AI is becoming the go-to search engine now, and people are doing all of their research there. So if you're not showing up, you're becoming invisible to potential buyers. And so I'm sharing that audit tool directly with these messages. And what's nice is it's no longer me just sending a message that's random to someone. They have engaged with my content when I'm talking about AEO and AI search, and therefore they are way more susceptible to receiving my message. And now, if you pair these two things together, where you post content that's relevant to your buyer and your ICP, that is speaking and targeting a pain point for them specifically and providing immediate value, whether that's knowledge value or resource value to those individuals. And then and they are liking and commenting and they are in your ICP who you're targeting, and then you send them a resource that provides more value, that is a sure way to book more demos and more customer calls. I know I went through this fast. I wanted to make sure we got through everything at the end, but I want to open the floor for any questions for those who are with us live, and to make sure that I can answer everyone. Any hesitation, any thoughts on the process we built today? Looks like we have a question about level of LinkedIn access for Valley. You can use Valley with a free account on LinkedIn. What you won't be able to see is profile viewers. That is a Sales Navigator only feature. And you won't be able to send in-mails, but you'll still be able to send connection requests and see who engaged with your content. Awesome. Well, it seems like questions are slowing down. Again, in whole, this is a process to show you how to never run out of content ideas, use inspiration and best practices of the platform today to come up with new ideas every week from your perspective and who are tailored to your ICP. And then use a tool like Valley. Again, there are hundreds of other ones that you could potentially use, but Valley does it all in one place. Not sponsored, by the way. I'm not getting paid to say this. And use it as a way to see who's engaging with your content, who's visiting your profile, and automatically send them a connection request and a resource. Again, the secret here, or the key, is that you are reaching out only to a warm audience. They already know who you are. So this is not cold outbound. This is a way to do warm outbound exclusively. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. We will share the project file that we worked on today, so everyone can access it for themselves. Then we will share all the prompts that are in the chat, and we'll also send free additional frameworks and resources that you guys can dig into that go a little bit more in context. We do these workshops every week for free, covering different AI growth marketing skill sets, and we create a playbook that you can replicate for yourself at the end of each one, so you can plug it directly into your system and make it work for you immediately. And if you have any questions or need help on anything more specific, feel free to reach out to me directly on LinkedIn. I accept every connection request, and I'm always in my DMs responding to messages. So you can find me. Will Leatherman is my profile. It looks like this. And shoot me a message, and excited to connect with you all. Thank you. Bye.